What's up, everybody? Been getting a whole bunch of messages about this. This is a Turbosmart straight gate. Everybody messages me and says, how do you have it set up in Holly as an E-gate? Well, it's not an E-gate. It's not electric. It's pneumatic, okay? So, I wanted to try this on the charge pipe, and I'm rather confident in the way this is gonna work. But, and I'll give you a walkthrough of how I'm gonna set this up. But Turbosmart makes these in an electronic version and a pneumatic version. There's a handful of reasons as to why I chose to use the pneumatic version as opposed to the electric version. First, weight. The electric version is enormous and it's heavy. Second, I don't want to put a black box in this car, and I do not want to rely upon an electronic wastegate, basically, to control boost. I've messed with them, and I'm not too thrilled with the kind of the way it works. So I wanted to stick to what I know, and I also, if this is a failure, we set this up pretty easily to go back to the regular Turbosmart 60mm gates that are on the car. So, and the third reason is cost. This is like, I want to say 700 bucks, maybe 650 bucks. I don't know. I don't remember. The electronic gate is like 1,300, and then the black box is like another 500. So as an experiment, 1,500 bucks is not a great idea, but 600 or 700 bucks I can swallow. So it's a pneumatic straight gate. The way this works, typically with the wastegate, we apply dome pressure to the top, to the dome, and then manifold signal to the bottom, right? In this scenario, because the way this works is a little flapper valve in there, right? And then it's hooked up to this rod. So it's actually pulling this way to compress the spring. So to make it harder for the valve to open, you have to put pressure on the bottom side and then a manifold reference on the top side, okay? So there's a manifold reference here, and then there is a CO2 line here to the bottom of it, right? So you plummet backwards, but not that big of a deal. This does not come with it. This is their gate position cap. I think this was like an additional 160 bucks. Not, don't know if it's 100% necessary. I don't feel like it's 100% necessary, but it is what it is. So the way this works is, we'll start in the back of the car. Give it a whole rundown so you can understand why we're using CO2. So first, we've got a big CO2 tank back here, right? From Flow Supply. It's a 5-pound CO2 tank. It comes out of that tank and it goes to a shutoff valve that winds up arming itself. There's a regulator here. It's actually this regulator right here. This regulator is preset to 100 PSI, and it feeds through the car, yada yada, to some solenoids back there for the parachute and the shifter. And then it also feeds to the MAC valves here, boost control solenoids here, okay? So this is our, down here, this is our inlet. Comes in right here. It hits the MAC valves like it would with a normal boost control through exhaust wastegates. Comes out through the center, right? So you got your increase valve here, and then your decrease valve here. I've got a T here that goes to my dome pressure sensor, which is, should be able to see it. Yeah, right there, Rife sensor. So there's my dome pressure sensor. So T's in right here. And what we did was we ran our CO2 line right here to a Y, and then I've got 2 quarter-turn ball valves, okay? So obviously this is not a necessity. This is something I want to try. We did a lot of changes to this car. So we changed it from a single to twins, right? We're HPT 88s. We put a lockup converter in it. The transmission and converter was changed over to a lockup. There's pretty radical changes to make to a car that was already fast, reliable, and repeatable, right? And predictable. So we don't have a ton of testing before we go race sick week. So the plan here was, let's go out and get like a soft and easy 430 tune-up with the exhaust gate, it's 430 to the 8th, exhaust gates, right? So that we have something to rely upon, right? Something that we know will work and we know we can make work. Then Matt made me caps for here. So we'll take the gates off, gonna cap them, and then we're gonna use this. You don't necessarily have to cap the gates because I could just leave both of these open. So the way these work is this one, if this one's open here, this is gonna feed the cold side gate, right? This one here. And if this one's open, it's gonna feed the regular exhaust waste gates right here, right? So Justin and I tried to set this up to make this as easy as possible to swap from one to the other, right? Anyway, we have caps, throw the caps on there, and that's why the dome pressure sensor is plumbed in back here so that it doesn't matter, you know, which one you turn, it's still gonna have pressure in the line, right? So the only problem with what I did here is that if I have them both closed, we're gonna have a whole bunch of dome pressure and no boost. But, you know, gotta keep them open, or one of them open. So, anyway, you use this just like you would your standard wastegate. With your boost control, your boost ICF and Holley, it's dome pressure, right? You could also set it up as map versus dome if you want to, but it's just standard dome pressure. And you apply dome pressure and it makes it harder for this to open, okay? So, a couple questions that I've gotten since like people saw this picture or this, you know, one of the videos or whatever, they saw this, a picture of this thing on here was, why didn't you go electric? We already covered that. The other question was, is it electric? No, we already covered that. And the other question that we got is, what is the benefit here? Okay, so if you've ever tuned turbo car with exhaust wastegates, right? With standard wastegates, right? You learn that there's sometimes, like when you really start getting after them, there's sometimes where it's useful to open the gates down track to let the engine breathe a little bit better, right? Obviously you don't have that option, but you do when you open up that a little bit when you're on the high side. The other reason is that when we were out in Georgia, racing in Georgia, I shouldn't say we, I'll say I screwed up on the blow-off valve. There's two blow-off valves still in the car too, by the way. So there's a blow-off valve here, and then, I can't see it, but where the hell is it? There it is. Another one hanging out upside down, right there. Okay. So, while we were in Georgia racing, I apparently forgot to tighten this hose, okay? So, going down the racetrack, it clicked into high gear, and this hose backed itself all the way off. We're at 42 pounds of boost. The moment that hose came off, the blow-off valve opened, okay? Because there was no more pressure being applied to the top of the blow-off valve, so the pressure in the pipe pushed it open. We went from 42 pounds of boost to like 20 pounds of boost, or 18 pounds of boost, something like that. I mean, like a cliff. It just fell off completely. It was instantaneous. So, by exhausting that much air on the cold side, made a unbelievably dramatic difference in cutting off power delivery, right? So, it's something that when you open up a gate here, it does not do nearly as much as this did, right? Another reason, a long, long time ago, before we had really cool stuff, I had a Vortec blower on a small block Ford, and we used a blow-off valve on the charge pipe. And we used the big Pro Charger blow-off valve, and we used CO2 with a little Mac valve, with a 4-port Mac valve, and we were manipulating the position of the blow-off valve to regulate boost to try to get the car under control. This is when BF Goodrich tires were like the big bad radial. So for all you older guys, you'll know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so that is the reason as to why I did this. I think this is gonna work well. The other night, I was playing with shop air, and I was applying shop air to the top here to see how easily this would change. So this unit, it was supplied with a 6-pound spring, right? You can order them with like a 6-pound spring or something else. I think a 13 or something like that. So this has got a 6-pound spring. I can tell you that it took about 3 pounds of air on the top of this to push this wide open, okay? I don't think that that's going to correlate 100% to boost pressure, right? But it literally only took about 3 pounds of air to open this gate wide open. Now, obviously, when there's pressure on the backside of this, it's going to have to open up against that pressure. But there's also going to be 50% of the valve that's trying to open it already. So maybe it'll negate it. I don't know. But again, we're going to find out. I think it's a pretty slick piece, you know. It's also clockable. And before anybody accuses me of it, I've paid for absolutely everything you see here, okay? Nobody gave me anything. In fact, I don't think the people at Turbosmart even like me because I got into a pissing match with them about their E-gate a long, long time ago. And then my pissing turned out to be correct when they first came out. So I don't even think those people like me. But I like their products, so that's fine too. But anyway, I did pay for everything that you see here. I didn't get any deals, you know, so I'm not paid to be making this video. I'm making this video just to show y'all because the question keeps coming up. And I think that this is going to be, obviously other racers have already proven that this is controlling boost on the charge side or on the cold side is extremely beneficial. And plenty of racers out there have been doing it, but I figured I would just kind of give you a reason to give you a glimpse as to why I'm doing it. So anyway, we'll be out testing. We'll try to get the car dialed in first on that so we got something to fall back on just in case. And then we'll cap them off and we'll go to town with this thing. So hopefully this taught y'all something. Hopefully this can end the questions. Oh, that's another question I get. They say if you don't have wastegates on it and you slam this thing shut, you'll overspin the turbo when you open it up, right? So like say your target's to make like 40 pounds of boost inside of the engine and this thing opens up, right? Well, now the turbo is just gonna spin and spin and spin and spin. It's gonna overspin the turbo and blow up the turbos, right? Well, that may happen with like cheap Chinese turbos. I don't know. I don't use that stuff. We use HPT. We also use forced induction, both great turbo manufacturers. I don't foresee that happening. Here's one of the reasons why that's kind of a dumb thought process, right? Your exhaust energy comes out of the engine, right? And spins on the turbine wheel and pushes the turbine wheel, and then which in turn is bolted to this and spins the compressor wheel, right? So this is all driven off of the exhaust, okay? If this is a huge boost leak right here, okay, you have not as much air going into the engine, okay? Which means you are not having as much of a combustion event with limited amounts of air, right? So pressure comes down, which means your exhaust volume goes down. If your exhaust volume goes down, shaft speed will go down. To prove this, we've got, where are they? Oh, this one's easier to see. There's 2 turbo shaft speed sensors in here. Once I have this up and running, the car runs now, but I mean, once I have this up and running and testing and doing this, I'll show the data on shaft speed as well. So anyway, hopefully that answers some questions. Let me know what you think in the comments. You think it's going to be better off using those, or using these? And also go ahead, get in the comments and tell me how I'm an idiot and I should have used an electronic gate and you know, and I should have never done this and blah, blah, blah. Just like everybody's going to anyway. So, see ya.